Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode we're doing another sample Saturday. Now, if you haven't caught these kind of videos before, this is something I do relatively infrequently, to be fair, but it's going to sort of happen a bit more often. But every now and again I get a call and say, do you want to try some samples of our liquid? And traditionally I've kind of said no to that sort of thing. I don't really cover samples on the channel anymore. I used to do a bit of written word sample work, but with the amount of samples that come through invariably around sort of wintry time, I like to do these little videos, these Sample Saturday videos. So it's not really a review per se. I kind of give each sample a bit of a normal kind of review like I normally would. These are normally longer videos, and what I'll do is I'll hit chapters below for each of the whiskies involved in all of these videos, so that you can skip ahead if you want to or not. But normally they do a kind of like a vertical tasting of a distillery, or in this case a quick overview of a range from an independent bottler or some such. Now today we're covering the Sons of Scotland, but that's a Stirling Distillery brand. Now you probably haven't heard of Stirling Distillery, or at least if you have, you probably know them for their gins. Started in 2015, kind of making gin, right? But you know, I'm not a gin drinker, so they kind of passed me by a little bit. I've driven through Stirling a couple of times, but it would have been before 2015 for sure. So they wouldn't have been anywhere near being ready when I was up in that area. But they've been producing gin for a number of years. They're planning on making new make. It's 2023. I don't know if they've actually started or not, but we're getting late on in that year now, so hopefully they have. But while they're doing that, and even before, these started in 2020, while they're doing that, they're independently bottling some whiskies to bring their brand out, I guess. Now, Sons of Scotland is the brand. These are all independently bottled whiskies. These aren't theirs, obviously. They're not producing theirs. Theirs won't be available for 3 years or so, or whatever. Depends on, you know, most people don't release it 3 years anymore. They kind of push it out a little bit further. But I don't know what their plans are with that. Hopefully I'll go and see them one day, but yeah. What we have here then is 3 of their core range expressions. These are all single cask whiskies. They've all got interesting names because they are a celebration of distilleries that used to be in Stirling a long time ago. They were saying on their website that there hasn't been whiskey distilled in Stirling since like 1852, but it's 1850, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that they're doing that. And these distilleries, they're not trying to match those characters. These distilleries obviously haven't. If it's before 1852, there's no way that they can possibly get any flavour profile. So they're not trying to do that. They're just celebrating it with interesting names. And they've got the different regions that they're trying to sort of encapsulate. On the table today, we've got a lowland, a Speyside, and a highland. All single cask, all single malts. So they're from distilleries that I just don't know where they are. You know, I didn't ask them, to be fair, but I couldn't find it online either. So I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't tell me, even if I did ask. But I kind of like that. You know, I kind of like a secret distillery, because it's almost like a blind tasting, right? You know, especially when I'm going to give you my mini reviews today, these will all be my honest opinions of them, because there's no way of any kind of bias, right? You know, apart from to the brand, I guess, but that's not what I do here on the channel. Yeah, so today I'll run through each of these in turn. You'll see the names below if you want to skip ahead of them, and there'll be links in the description below if you want to go and check out Stirling Distillery, or if you want to check out these individual bottles, depending on what I say on each of them. But they're either available on the Stirling Distillery website, or some of them are available on Master of Malt as well. But I'll get into that as we get through the bottlings. Fair said, let's get on to the actual tastings and see what we've got. I poured these out a little while ago, and I should say at the top of the show as well, you won't see me drinking water in between each of these drams, but don't worry, I've already made my tasting notes long before this video is being recorded, so I'll be drinking along on camera, but don't worry about me cleansing my palate or whatnot. All of the tasting notes have been done already. But let's get on to the first one then. So this first one, this is actually their latest release, and this is the Cambusbarron. Obviously I've only got wee little samples here. All of these are 50%. I don't know about natural colour or non-chill filtered, because that might be on the full-size bottles for all I know. I'm going to go with the fact that because they're all different colours, I'm going to go with the fact that they probably are non-chill filtered and natural coloured, but like I said, I don't know, so not commenting on that too much. Yeah, say this is a Cambusbarron, and it's a 3-year-old lowland whiskey. Ballsy move, I'll say that right from the start, because these other two here, we've got two 14-year-old whiskies and a 3-year-old whiskey at relatively the same price. These all sell for £65 on the Stirling website, although like I said earlier, some of these are available on Master of Malt for actually quite a good wedge cheaper, to be honest. Some of these are, a good wedge. Go and have a look. You'll see in the links below. Yeah, so we've got here a 3-year-old, and this is interesting because it was aged in a quarter sherry cask, which is interesting. So that's obviously small cask, greater surface area to liquid interaction. So it ages quicker, essentially. I'm not going to get into the details of that here, but you get more wood interaction, so you get a deeper whiskey much quicker, which I imagine is why they've bottled this at 3 years. But let's get into the actual whiskey and see what we've got. Let's talk a little bit about the colour. It's not like the deepest colour in the world, but it's a nice kind of golden liquid, but that's what we like about whiskey, nice golden liquid. Let's try the nose. Now for me, it's got heaps of cooking spices. That's the overwhelming flavour I'm getting from this. Cooking spices, so I'm talking like nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, and that all kind of like molds together to almost give me like a juniper style. I don't want to say it doesn't smell like a gin at all, but I'm getting a kind of like a juniper twig whiff from this. Not my favourite nose in the world. Yeah, let's try on the palate. Okay, it's there's so much cinnamon going on here as well. Cinnamon, nut, all the things from the nose translating across, except the juniper. That's not really coming across that much. The cloves definitely are. The finish is reasonably, it's like medium long, spicy white pepper finish. Now, if I'm honest, not a huge fan of that, I'll be honest. A lot of those tasting notes I gave you there are things that I don't particularly like that much, like cinnamon, clove, juniper. So yeah, not a huge fan of that, but I will say it's got quite a thick, viscous mouthfeel to it. You can tell that it's been bottled at the right time. If you like those things, a lot of people do like those things. So if you do like those things, you're probably going to find something to like here. But yeah, for me, not a particularly winner, but let's move on to the next one and see what we've got here then. So the next one then is the Arngibbon 14 year. Now this is the third release, but you need to be careful about that because there are some second releases on Master of Malt, I think. So if you do make any purchases based on what I say, then just be careful about which ones you buy in, because I can't vouch for the others. I think actually the second release of this was an 8-year-old, so that might be a good teller for you. But yeah, this one was distilled in 2008, bottled in 2022, aged in a hogshead. So yeah, you can see again, this one's fairly pale. So I imagine a refill cask, but as I've said many times on my videos, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Oftentimes, especially with independently bottled whiskies, single cask whiskies, when it's in an ex-bourbon refill cask, when it hasn't got a hell of a lot left to give, what you do get is a very indicative distillery character that you don't get from other kinds of bottlings, where cask influence takes over, or dare I say, the marketing department of whatever distillery it is gets their hands on it and they cover it in all kinds of sherry cask and things like that. But yeah, interesting one. Let's get onto the actual nose here then and see what we've got in the glass. Now this is much more up my street, without a doubt. For me, I'm getting heaps of vanilla, loads of fudge, and a kind of like a heathery floral note on the back end. Lovely. Let's try on the palate. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is much more up my street. Palate is relatively the same, to be fair. Lots of those vanillas, those fudges. I've marked it down as a kind of like almost like a fudge pudding kind of thing. I'm not really sure what I meant by that, but that's the tasting note I got. You know, the heatheriness comes through on the back end. The kind of like oaky tannins are coming through just a little bit, just a squidge of it. But yeah, really those kind of vanillas and fudges that come through the nose into the palate. That's the overarching vibe of this one. Again, I don't know what distillery this is, but I like it. Finish is kind of medium long. Sweetness disappears off into a bit of sourness on the back end, but as I've always saying when I say the sourness on the back end, not a bad tasting note, actually quite nice. I quite like sour things. So yeah, for me, I'm enjoying that a lot. That one's a nice one. I think this is one of those ones that's you can get in the mid 50 quids if you're interested in that. But yeah, enjoying that a lot. Next one then is the Cashley, if you can see that. Yep. This is a third release again. Distilled in 2008, bottled in 2022. Again, a hogshead, and this is a Highland versus the Speyside we just had. Again, don't know the distillery name. This one's ever so slightly darker, but still quite pale. So again, I'm probably going to guess that it's a refill cask, but again, not a problem, because again, we're going to get a nice distillery character off of this. So let's get onto the nose and see what we've got. Oh, okay. This is remarkably different to the other two. For me, I'm getting like heaps of fresh red apples. Almost like I'm a big fan of a Pink Lady apple, and it's like that. But it's mixed in with this really nice kind of floral, but also like almost like a fresh hay kind of vibe. If you've ever been to a field where they've just cut the hay and compacted it into hay bales, you're getting that sort of like vibe. So it isn't like a farmyardy vibe. It's in the field, freshly cut and baled kind of vibe. I used to live near some fields, so I vibe with this. Let's try on the palate. Oh, that is gorgeous. It's got an incredible mouthfeel to start with. Very nice, very viscous, and then there's kind of like an explosion of fruitiness. Too much to go into in a small sample Saturday. Would probably have to do a full review on it to give you kind of full tasting notes. But the vibe I'm getting from that is it's like I said, an explosion of fruitiness. It's warm. It's got a couple of little spices in it. It has got a hint of that cinnamon that I mentioned earlier. But that really, what that does is it blends it all together into a kind of like a warm apple crumble kind of vibe. You know, it's got that kind of like buttery, biscuity things going on as well, which I'm really enjoying. I do love an apple crumble, even with a little bit of cinnamon on top. But yeah, finish wise, it's no longer than the other two, but it's got a really nice kind of like warming and fruity. When I say fruity, I mean like this kind of orchard fruits, apples, that sort of thing. That sort of vibe going to it. That does disappear off medium. It's not medium long, it's just medium. It does disappear off, but just makes me want to go back in for another sip, which I'm going to. Yeah, I mean, that's a beaut, that is. Personal preference now, just deciding. That's gone up in order of preference for me. Starting with the 3-year-old into the 214s. But yeah, that's how it goes with personal preferences, right? I don't often go on about personal preference on my main videos, but why not with when you're doing a kind of threesome up on the screen here? You know, you may as well rank them. But that's me. I'm really interested in this. They've got one more other whiskey that I haven't tried yet, so I might try it and see if I can try that, see how it stacks up against these. Would love to see if they've got any kind of peated whiskey on the go as well. That's obviously very interesting. But yeah, massive thanks to them for sending these sample set over for me to kind of have a look at what they're doing, what they're bottling. Very interested to see what they're going to be doing in the next few years. Hopefully I'll try and get hold of some new make for my little new make library up there as well, because I'm always interested to see what people are doing with their new make spirits, especially newer distilleries that are maybe trying to do things a little bit differently. We'll see. But yeah, if you didn't have Stirling Distillery on your radar, hopefully you do now. Hopefully you've been interested enough to go and check out some links in the description below, and maybe even go and visit that distillery. Like hopefully one day I will too. But yeah, interesting little brand. For me, Cashley is winning out for that, and that seems to be pretty indicative on the websites, because that has sold out on their website, and I'm not sure where it's available. But yeah, do some Googling. You don't have to click my links. That's always a thing. Do some Googling, find it yourself, and you'll be pleasantly surprised what you can find, let's say. But there you go. Let me know if you like this sorts of video, if you like these sample Saturdays. I've got a few more coming up in the next couple of weeks because I've just got an influx of samples come through out of nowhere. So I'll be covering them in these kind of more informal videos, a bit longer videos. And if you like that sort of thing, obviously hit the like button down below and subscribe and all that jazz. But otherwise, I'll see you on more videos coming up soon. Catch you soon.